Hi all, and welcome to my channel, Fred Makes Things. This is part 2 of the Sewers Club May series, I guess. Part 1 was the unboxing, and today, part 2 is the project review. Yeah. So, how I try to structure these reviews is I talk a little bit about what came in the box, and then I talk about the project, and then I talk about my final thoughts. As in my last video, I also have notes from my cousin who also got this box. And so as we go along, I'll kind of discuss what she did and what she thought as well. As a bit of a backstory, my cousin has been sewing for probably over 30 years or so, she says. She doesn't call herself an expert or anything, but she says that she's continually learning. She takes sewing courses and goes to sewing conferences and things like that. So to me, she's usually the person I turn to when I have questions. She's also the person who got me into sewing in the first place. So yeah, let's just get into talking about the project. So should be no surprise, but if you haven't seen the other video, we'll quickly talk about what came in the box. So this was the Back to the Basics table runner. It was a nice and simple project. Here are the instructions, right? Your fabric, your cutting. There's a video that I always watch. And then the sewing instructions. This was a really simple pattern because the fabric was the showstopper for me anyway. They were hand-dyed batiks from Indonesia. This is what I have left of mine. So you got basically just enough to make your project. And now I have some strips left. These are the colors that I got. I have like a nice light blue, kind of a dark blue, and then like a gray-y blue. And so yeah, there's some strips left. It is definitely a project you do not want to mess up on, but that's what's left. The box also came with some add-ons and notions. I have signed up for the Notion add-on as well, so we'll talk about that in a second. So the special bonuses this month were I guess I can let you see it too. The special bonuses for this month were different panels. My cousin, she got Aristocats panels. Pop up a picture here. I got the Stonehenge panel that you can kind of see in here. Here's a picture of that. And then another subscriber, or a subscriber, I should say, told me that she got something else too, but I can't think of it right now. But apparently there was quite a range of different panels that you got. The other thing was thread, which is right here, right? You always get thread so that you can make your project. This didn't really match as well as I wanted it to, so I just used the thread from last month's box. Actually, this isn't from last month's box either. I bought this thread to make last month's project. And then the add-ons. So the add-ons, right, these are the things that I paid extra for. They're an extra $10 a month. I got a pair of sewing scissors. I kind of played with them, but with this project I used mostly my rotary cutter, so I didn't really need these that much. And these sharps needles or something, unique sewing sharp needles. When I did the unboxing, I didn't read the card. To be honest with you, I haven't read the card at all. But yeah, so the card says that with a ballpoint, these needles are very versatile and can be used to sew knits, synthetics, and most woven fabrics. Not only can these needles be used with both cotton and silk thread, but this one's bonus thread can be used too. So the sewing thread was yeah, just fairly simple, straightforward thread. So when I unboxed these, I said, oh, I'm not sure why these came. I'm glad I have them. And my comment section let me know that these kinds of needles were really good for thicker cottons like batik, which makes sense on why they came in the box. So I just want to say thank you to the people in the comments who let me know about that. I haven't really worked with batiks, so I didn't really consider the fact that a sharper needle would be good for a thicker material like that. And then, I don't know if you saw, but I have a little bit of this too, and we'll discuss this when we discuss the project. All right, so we'll remove this and all of these, and I'll show you the final project. And here it is. Hold on, grab a little bit. So this is the final project. Here's the point. Here's the back side. And then we'll flip her over and I'll show you the top. So here's the nice point. Here's the fabric, or the runner, right? The stripes are mostly straight, and here's the second point. So we'll go like that, I think, to talk about. It looks like I got the fabric that they used in the sample photo, or something very similar. This blue might be a little darker, and this, well, you get what I mean, right? Like, it's pretty close. The idea is pretty close. My cousin got something completely different. Here's a photo of what she got. All right, so now let's talk about putting it together. So first I ironed the fabrics, and then I did all of my cuts. My cuts were quite simple and straightforward. The nice thing about this material being a bit thicker is that it stayed nice and still on my cutting mat, which was nice. I had a bit of a hard time cutting these 1.5 inch pieces just because they're so small, and the length was so long, right? It was 43 inches long. So that was a bit difficult to get my quilting square, or my quilting ruler, my cutting ruler, whatever it's called, to not constantly like mess it back and forth. But in the end I got it pretty straight, which was nice. And then I sewed them together, right? Nice. The way the instructions told you to do it is that you took these two and you sewed them together. And then you took this piece of fabric, which is one large piece. There's no like sewn edge, right? And then you sewed that together and you made yourself like a cylinder. You pop that inside out, or right sides out, I should say. Sewed your this part here together. I don't know why I'm showing it like this. I'm pretty sure I have photos up to show you what I'm talking about. But I sewed it together. I made the point. I ironed it flat. And then I used, they said you can hand stitch this down, right, to make it so that you can't lift it. But I wasn't messing with that. That's a lot of work. I didn't feel like doing it. So what I did is I took some hem tape that I had left over from a previous project. I'm thinking I hemmed something with it. But anyway, I took the hem tape, I cut it to size, I cut it at a slight angle on the edges, and then I just ironed it. so that these are nice and secure. All right, this one I ironed it a little further down. This one I got it really close to the edge. But now the points are nice and secure. I'm actually really proud with how this turned out. All right, so what my cousin did differently is that she said, I'll just read what she said. She said, so I hacked this one a bit more than I thought. Patterns are like recipes and just a good place to start. So she said, I cut the fabric to the right width, but just sewed it together and squared it off. So mine is probably a little longer than the pattern calls for. I also decided that I wanted batting in it. I sewed it together and trimmed the corners to match the finished edge so that it would not have too much bulk. I used quilt basting spray and a couple of pins to anchor the point when I turned it. The batting should have been cut a little narrower than it was. Focusing quilt basting spray, just be careful of the overshoot as it is very sticky, and she also recommends using it outside because it did not smell so great. She also did decorative stitching down the middle. She said decorative stitches down the middle follows a line that was on the fabric. Decorative stitches should be tested first on the same layers of fabric as the final project. So she included a photo and she said you can see the bunching that happened on the sample I did that was just a single layer versus the smoother finish of the 3 layers. So it looks like her recommendation is that if you are going to do a decorative stitch, stack the fabric together. So like this is 2 layers of fabric, so you would do two pieces. Well, here we go, right? You would do 2 of these together. I don't know why, I feel like I'm yelling. You would do the 2 pieces together, right? So that you can figure out the tension and stuff on your decorative stitch. I think that's what she's saying. Yeah, so that's basically the difference between mine and hers. Hopefully the photos that I'm going to insert afterwards help make that make more sense. Great. Pros. As always, I liked the video tutorial. As I've said in previous project reviews, I'm a bit of a visual learner. So to see it done before, or to see the project made before I start on it, it makes life so much simpler. I actually went mostly off of memory on what the project said rather than following the written instructions. Like this. I'm sure the instructions are fine. I did use them. I'm not saying I didn't. It's just I really like the video. What else? Oh, I like how simple the project is in general, right? I like the 3 layers. I'm going to do this for other projects too, or for other table runners for other seasons, I think. I currently have a table runner for Christmas. No, I don't. I have like a tablecloth for Christmas. I've made a couple of table runners for other seasons, but I like the point and I like how I got the point. So I might do other things of it. I also like how clear the instructions were so that you got like a really nice sharp point and how your bands mostly match up. I'm so proud of that. I think this side is better for the bands matching up. Yeah. Yeah, so lots of, well, not lots of pros, but I really liked it. My cousin liked it because she said it was a very easy project to hack. So she could make it her own quite simply. Like she liked having the base plan and that they gave you room to be able to like kind of make it your own. She also liked how they told you where in the process you should add tassels if you added tassels. I didn't have a tassel that matched these very well. I didn't feel like making one. And to be honest, it doesn't quite fit my table nicely to drape over. So it's nice not having the tassel because now it kind of sits on my table a bit nicer. She said also, on a plainer fabric, this is a wonderful project to break out those decorative stitches. But she did find it hard to find a stitch that she liked with the batik. But she did like the effect. So again, she did the decorative stitching, I did not. So those are two different ways to go about it. Cons. The only real con for me is that it's too short for my table. But to be honest, it would have had to have been probably another 8 inches longer or so to make it hang off my table like I like it to. Here's a photo of it on my table. Maybe I'll spin it around so that it faces like the opposite direction and runs lengthwise on my table with something underneath of it, because as you can see, I have one leaf in it, and you can see like the join marks for the leaf. It's a handmade table, so it's not quite perfect. Yeah, that's the only negative for me really, is that it's just a bit too short. My cousin's only negative really was that she thought the fabric was a bit too busy for a decorative stitch, but she still liked the idea of the decorative stitch. So I guess, I don't know if that's really a negative or not. User error. I don't have any at all. I think this is a perfect runner for me. You can see my band, well, that band obviously lines up, but my bands line up almost perfectly, or my stripes, which is a huge accomplishment for me, I would say. Yeah, I might have wanted to do like a top stitch along the side just to keep this stable, but we'll see as we go along. My cousin had a bit more problems because she messed around with the pattern. So she said that she didn't have her batting centered properly, and if you look closely, you can see that one end that at the one, oh, okay, let's try that again. You can see that at the one end, you can see that the one end with the blue on one side is wider than the other. It is more noticeable from the back. And you can see that the seam is off by the full width of one of the accent strips. But you can't really notice it from the back. So basically, I think what she's saying is that her strips didn't come out as perfect as mine did. Here's a photo. You can see that they're a bit wonky and that they don't line up as nicely. And then she also had a bit of an issue with her batting. But really, who's going to look so closely at it that they're going to be like, oh, look at how you messed up. So really, it's not that much. As of recording this, she still hasn't done her hand stitching. But after I told her about how easy it was with the hem tape, she might just do that instead as well. Yeah, so it took me from start to finish, not including the initial ironing. I did the initial ironing last week so that I could get nice and pretty pictures posted up on Instagram. But so without doing the initial ironing, this project took me about 2.5 hours, I want to say. Start to finish. I started the project around 11 this morning. And I think I was taking my photos, my final photos, at about 1:30 this afternoon, roughly. So about 2.5 hours. Excuse me. For her, it was about 3 to 3.5 hours with a few breaks. And mainly, I think, because she was doing the batting, she needed to let it set because she used a spray. And reading between the lines, it looks like she may have gotten a little frustrated with it at points. But that could just be me interpreting what she has to write. But yeah, we both really enjoyed the project. So, because this video isn't long enough, I'm going to do like a little chat about the projects so far. So the thought occurred to me as I was getting ready to sign off about how these projects have been going for me. So we'll say with January's project, this lovely, I really like how it came out, like I said in the video, right? There were more cons than I would have cared for, but it was a good project. So this is my thought though, is that this was a hard project for me to do. I'm, as a novice, it was like the instructions were easy and everything like that, but it was still like a harder project. And I thought all the projects were going to be like this. And the idea of doing it was a bit daunting, to be honest. Like I was like, oh, I don't know. It took me 2 days to do this. It was a bit frustrating. I had to go back and do some fixes and stuff like that. So January's pattern was really hard. Well, not really, but it was pretty hard for me to do. So I was like, oh, it's this, we'll have to see. And then it seems like the projects have gotten easier and easier as the months have gone on. So this was really hard. These, which I still haven't used, they're still sitting in my drawer. Much easier than this, but still, like, when you look at like the level of difficulty to get the hearts and stuff done, and my craziness with the quilting, these were a bit more difficult to do, really. Well, actually, I shouldn't say a bit more difficult, but like they're difficult. Like, okay, on a rating of like 1 to 10 of level of difficulty that I've experienced with these, I would say this was about a 7. Now, keep in mind, this is arbitrary, but out of a 1 to 10, I would say this is about 7. 1 being easy, 10 being the most difficult. I would say a 7. These ones I would say are probably about a 4. So it was quite a bit like lower in the difficulty level. And then it was this one here. I use this every time I bring up a sewing project now. This one I would say is also about a 4. Right, so these, I would say that these two are about the same in difficulty. This one turned out really well. I'm really proud of it, but right, nowhere near as difficult as this. And then here's the makeup bag from last month, which I haven't used either, but I still really enjoy. This one I would say is about a 3. I say a 3 because of the diagonal zipper and making the bottom kind of be like, I don't know, stand-uppy. Yeah, stand-uppy is a word, right? So there's like a bit of like technical stuff to do with this one, but I would say it's about a 3. And then this one here, I would call it a 2. It's not a 1, right? Because you do have like the different strips that make it a little bit more difficult. But really, so as the months have been going on, it seems like the projects have been getting easier. Which makes me wonder if in another, like, is it going to start getting harder again? Like, am I prepared for that? Right? Because it's like, oh, like if you started in January with this, you're like, oh yeah, level 1, that's great. And you're like, oh, look at that, like a level 3, like how awesome and pretty is that, right? And then you get these ones and you're like, oh, level 4. It's nice that we're kind of moving up with the skill set, right? Doing like these pockets and trying to get everything straight and square, which they're not, but that's besides the point. And then you're like, okay, I've been doing this for 4 months, right? 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 months. And then you're like, oh, look, level 7 after, like, on month 5. Like, oh, okay, I can do that. And like, it would be nice to like go up in levels instead of down in levels. So it just makes me really curious to see what comes in June's box. Is it going to be another easy project? Is it going to be a project where I just want to curl up in a ball and cry for a little bit? Okay, honestly, it wasn't that terrible, but comparing this to the rest of these, this I wouldn't say is good for a beginner. The rest of them can be good for a beginner, but this one, you'd have to kind of have been sewing for a little while in order for it to work out for you. I'm not complaining about it. Like, I like all of them. I like getting the projects done. It's just interesting how the different like difficulty levels are with the different patterns. Anyway, I'm not sure if I'm making sense or not. I'm gonna let you guys go because this video is too long as it is. They're always too long as it is. I need to learn to be more succinct. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you're one of my new subscribers, thanks for watching. Last time I did this, I had 20 subscribers, or 19, something like that. Now I have 22, so I'm moving up in the world. So thank you to the 2 subscribers if you watch this video. I really appreciate you. Yeah, my next unboxing should be in a couple of weeks, and with that unboxing I may have a small announcement as well. We'll see when we get there. Yeah, like the video, subscribe, do the things if you want, and I will talk to you again soon.